Alerts and RSS feeds, which stands for Really Simple Syndication, by the way, not that I think the definition necessarily helps anyone understand any better what it is or does, but in any event, alerts and RSS feeds are both methods of allowing SharePoint to inform you via email or text when content is changed in a list or library. RSS can also work with entire websites and blogs. The technology was really designed to allow changes to be instantly updated on the internet, and it's used to notify people of things as timely as who wins a sporting championship to maybe when stock changes on your favorite tech markets. Their application is broad, but in SharePoint, their use is straightforward. Subscribing to RSS feeds or configuring alerts are typically done on a blog, list, or library. And that means we need to be in the blog, list, or library to which the feed or alert is targeted. In this case, we're going to work with our general task list. We'll tackle the easiest one first, and that is the RSS feed. It's easiest not for any reason other than that there is nothing really to configure with an RSS feed, so it's simply a matter of clicking or tapping an option. So, to subscribe to an RSS feed, first go to the location you want. In this case, we're in the task list. Then activate the Items tab on the ribbon at the upper left side of the screen. Now, if you look carefully, you should see that there is an option for the RSS feed somewhere on the ribbon. Now, hopefully you'll forgive me, but I did kind of set you up a little bit here, because a lot of people tend to go to Items, and what they see is Alert Me. We'll get to this in just a few minutes. This is how you create an alert. But an RSS is actually assigned to an entire list. And if we think about that in Microsoft terms, that means that we don't want to be on the Items tab, we want to be on the List tab. And if we look carefully, we'll see that the List tab also has an Alert Me option, but unlike the Items tab, which did not have one for RSS feed, the List tab does. Now we can simply give that a click or a tap. Doing so takes you to the actual RSS page for that item. Here, you can simply click on Subscribe. But let's take a look at it for just a minute before we get too carried away. It tells us that this is the RSS feed and what it's for the You Got It training site for the tasks list. It gives us a little bit of information that we can track information here, but it also says all we have to do is use an RSS reader. With an RSS reader, we can simply subscribe, and then we'll be able to view all of these changes. You may be asking yourself, what is this RSS reader thing that I've never heard of before? Well, if you're unsure what an RSS reader is, suffice it to say, if you have Internet Explorer or Outlook, you have one. In fact, when you click subscribe, a warning is going to appear that's going to tell us that that's what's going to happen. So let's go ahead and give that a click or a tap. And here's the Internet Explorer warning I was telling you about. What it says is, do you want to allow this website to open a program on your computer? And it's saying that our SharePoint site wants to open Outlook. That's because Outlook has an RSS folder, and it will organize all of our RSS feeds within that folder if we choose to use it. So I think if you have Outlook, it's a really good idea to click or tap where it says Allow. And that's going to go ahead and set up all of that functionality so you can follow this within Outlook. Now, of course, you're going to be prompted to open Outlook, and we're not going to go through that whole process, at least not show it all to you. So I'm just going to go ahead and say Cancel at this point. Then I'll go ahead and close out of Outlook itself. Normally, that would launch Outlook, and it would sync everything together with the links that are necessary. Then, when in Outlook, you can go to your RSS folder, expand it, and you would see one for this particular list, which happens to be tasks. Being able to view RSS feeds from within Outlook is nice because we spend an awful lot of time in Outlook already, so it's really just a matter of convenience. However, you can always come and look at the RSS feed in your browser as well. What will happen is every time you subscribe to an RSS feed, you'll be able to come to the upper right-hand corner of your browser, assuming, of course, that you're using the same browser that I am. But basically, in Internet Explorer, when you expand your Add to Favorites, you'll see you not only have a Favorites tab, but you also have one called Feeds. This tab is the one that ultimately will list all of the RSS feeds to which you're subscribed. You'll simply give it a click, and what will happen is it will show you this page. This actually is the RSS feed, and we can see that it summarizes everything at the top. It gives us a table of contents. In this case, these are all of the tasks that are currently on this task list. If we scroll down, we'll see each of them individually listed with more details, like their priority, status, who it's assigned to, description, the start date, the due date, when it was created, and it also has a link that will take us directly to the SharePoint task list itself, or whatever list or library the RSS feed happens to be tied to. So even though the RSS feed here in the browser gives us more information, it's still not all of the information. It's still a summary. And if we want the full information, it will always provide us a link to go directly into SharePoint and see all of the details. That's the basics of how an RSS feed works. Let's go ahead and go back now to our task list and talk about the second part of being alerted, and that is, of course, the alert itself. As we saw a while ago, we can create alerts in a variety of ways. We can create an alert from the Items tab or from the List tab. We need to remember, though, that there are two different types of alerts, or at least two things that we can assign alerts to in SharePoint. They both work in exactly the same way. It has more to do with scope. And by that I mean, we can apply an alert to an individual list item. In other words, we could create an alert just on proof course schedule for next quarter. Or we can apply an alert to the entire list, which in this case would be the entire task list. It's all about location, location, location again. So if we're on the List tab and we move to Alert Me, you'll notice that there is a drop-down. And it says, Set Alert on this list. If, on the other hand, we were on the Items tab and we expanded Alert Me, now notice it says, Set Alert on this item. Similar, yet different. And of course, if you use the Open menu and set an alert from here, that would be an alert on the item as well. Well, we're going to go ahead and do this on the entire list. So let's go back to the List tab, click Alert Me, set alert on this list, and it, of course, is going to make a form. Alerts will come as emails or text messages, and that means it needs to have a title. By default, the title is the name of the list or library or blog that it's being assigned to. So in this case, it's just tasks. I would normally recommend making it something a little bit better because tasks is really fairly generic. So make it something that will be useful and helpful when it comes into your inbox. The next thing we need to do is designate how we want the alerts to be set, by email or by text message. You can also send the URL in a text message. So there's some different varieties here. I did want to point out that if you have any type of administrator privileges, you will see an extra field here where you can designate who should get the alert. That's only available to somebody who's an administrator. As a user, you can only create alerts for yourself, which is why you see your email and possibly your phone numbers. Now we get to the fun part. We get to change the type of alert that we get. Only send me alerts when, and our option to start with, the default is all changes. In other words, anytime anything changes on this list at all. Something's added, something's modified, something's deleted, whatever it is, we're going to get an alert. Now that may sound great, but it also might mean that we're going to get an awful lot of messages, especially if this is a busy list. Since this is a generic task list that all of the You Got It training company is using, I'm going to be a little more selective about what I'm alerted on. So I don't want all changes. Instead, maybe I'm interested in new items. Once I know something's here, then if I want to monitor it, I of course can do that. But being notified when new tasks are added is a great idea. We'll scroll down a little bit more so we can see some of our additional options. And we've said that we want to be notified when new items are added, but then we can also have alerts sent when anything changes, a task is assigned to me, a task becomes marked complete, a high priority task changes, someone changes a task that's assigned to me, someone changes a task period, someone changes a task created by me, someone changes a task that was last modified by me, or take a deep breath, someone changes an item that appears in the following view of this list. Oh my gosh, yes, there are a lot of options. Now, it may kind of make your head swim, but when you're working with your own lists and libraries, you'll know what you need to be notified of, and it will make a lot more sense. We really want to narrow it down. And what I'm going to say is, because this is a generic task list and could be just about anything for anybody, I only want to know about new items that are added and if that task is assigned to me. In other words, I don't care if 100 tasks are created if none of them are my problem. In other words, if I'm not responsible for them. Okay, we're almost done. Once we get that part configured, the last thing we need to decide is when do we want to be notified? By default, notifications are sent out immediately as soon as the change happens, but you might find that you get an awful lot of alerts that way. You can choose instead to have just one daily summary report sent. That means if at least one change happens, you'll get an email, In that email, it will list the subject of the task and give you a link so you can go in and see the details. If that's still too much, you might choose to have a weekly summary, maybe for projects that are coming to an end or there's just not a lot of urgency involved with them. Now, when you do either one of these, you get to set a couple of options. For a daily summary, you can choose what time of day you want it. Maybe you want it about 1 or 2 o'clock, so you still have time in the afternoon to address it before the end of the business day. If you choose to have a weekly summary, you can not only choose the time, but also the day. And in this case, maybe I want it Thursday at 1 o'clock, so I have the rest of Thursday and all day Friday to address the need. All right, that's it. You've just created an alert. And you can create alerts for individual items or for all of the items on a list. I really recommend that you do it for an entire list because otherwise you're micromanaging and you could be managing a lot of different alerts. Usually it's a list that we're most interested in. So at this point, we just click OK. That alert is set. You'll get an email in your inbox telling you that the alert has been set up, so you know that it's been confirmed. And I just wanted to point out one more option real quick on the Alert Me dropdown. If you ever want to know what alerts you have, click or tap Manage My Alerts. This takes you to alerts on this entire site. So for all of the lists and libraries on this website, you can see them all listed here. You can technically add alerts from here. And more importantly, you can find something, maybe you're being annoyed by getting one too often, and you can actually delete a selected alert, or you can just make modifications to it. What you now know is that RSS feeds, which stands for Really Simple Syndication, are easy to enable. RSS feeds can be viewed in Outlook's RSS folder or in your browser's feeds list. Alerts can be set for entire lists or for individual items within a list. You can configure what you want to be notified of and when you want to receive the notification, which really is one of the advantages of alerts over RSS feeds. Both RSS notifications and alerts can be received as email or text messages, provided that your systems allow you to do that. Both types of notifications can be turned off if or when desired by simply managing them, either in your browser or in SharePoint.